Well, new rules on X warn you that you can get shadow banned for misgendering somebody. That means if somebody says they're transgender, you can't use their biological sex. You must use their pronouns or else. Now, here's the official policy as it's written on X saying we reduce the visibility of posts that purposely use different pronouns to address someone other than what that person uses themselves, or use a previous name than someone no longer goes by as part of their transition. Given the complexity of determining whether such a violation has occurred, we must always hear from the target to determine if a violation has occurred. Now that's kind of confusing because they're using the word purposeful, and they're going to then try and figure out, was this mean-spirited or was it not? Was it intentional or was it not? That means that you can get downranked. Now, what's unclear is then, will you otherwise get downranked or just that tweet? Now, Reclaim the Net points out that this purposeful word is problematic because how do you know someone's intention?
Right, and you're going to put a whole team,
mean?
And you're going to have a whole team of people now working at X, like making a determination. This is a slippery slope, right? You're going to have a team of like misgendering experts on your team and your staff that's going to like, was this purposeful? That this person really specifically called Caitlyn Jenner, you know, by their biological sex rather than what they want to be?
Yes, it's confusing. And another question, though, is does it matter what influence you have? Now, this is the official policy, but just today, a post went viral that was a misgendering post. I'm going to show it to you. And I'm just wondering, was this allowed because it was J.K. Rowling? Or is it that Elon Musk is actually not willing to enforce this, as he has sort of indicated before that it is a measure of free speech? So this is a person who said that they called the police on J.K. Rowling for misgendering them on X. Watch.
J.K. Rowling has definitely committed a crime. I'm legally a woman. She knows I'm a woman, and she calls me a man. It's a protected characteristic, and that is a breach of both the Equalities Act and the Gender Recognition Act. She's tweeted that out to 14 million followers. If you check out the accounts that have been responding to me on the back of that, her trigger, it's absolutely disgusting, putrid, some of the worst abuse I've ever seen on social media. And I know I'm at the center of it, and I might be a little bit biased.
Well, what are you going to do about this?
What am I going to do about it? Well, I've been to the police and I've reported it as an issue. I contacted Northumbria Constabulary yesterday.
So you reported J.K. Rowling?
I have reported J.K. Rowling to the police for what she said, which I don't know if that's going to be treated as a hate crime, malicious communications, but it's a cut and dried offence as far as I'm concerned. And at the end of the day, it is a hate crime. Trans gender identity is a protected characteristic, just as race is, just as sexuality is. And the equivalent of what J.K. Rowling said, calling a trans person a man, deliberately, knowing that that person is a woman, and I am a woman, regardless of what J.K. Rowling says. I've been through everything that's required of me. My birth certificate says female, my passport, all of my documents. I am legally recognized as a woman. And for J.K. Rowling to deliberately, and that is the key word, misgender me, knowing who I am, is grossly offensive. It is a hate crime, and it should be treated just as somebody calling a black person the N-word, or an Asian person the P-word, or...
Okay, I don't know what the P-word is for Asian people. We probably shouldn't say it. And
Probably not.
I don't encourage...
I think I know what they're talking about.
Okay, don't write it in our chat, because you'll get our show downranked, please. If you know it, maybe you can private message me, but I don't want our show to like be writing all these offensive things about Asian people. I don't know it. I did not.
First of all, let me just point out that this segment is already going to be shadow banned by YouTube.
Yes.
Already.
All of our trans pieces.
Yeah. Any piece we do on gender, YouTube always downranks it and hides it anyway. So, we're already up against that anyway. So let me just unpack a couple of things she said there. Let me just untuck a couple of the things that she talked about there. So she says, I've been through everything that is required of me to become a woman.
Right.
Everything.
It's a checklist, basically.
I went through the government offices. I filled out all of the paperwork. I legally went through everything. Mm-hmm. And now
I'm on all the hormones. I had all the surgery. Unfortunately,
Can
though,
I see your uterus?
Well, I don't think she's got a uterus. And when her bones, if they were dug up in 50 years from their grave, the DNA would be recognized as male.
As male, right. So, yes.
So that's not something that they can change.
So how is it a hate crime? He is a man. It's
not a hate crime. In fact, the court in the UK ruled for Myra Forstater, who was fired for saying that biology is real. You are allowed to say that. That is a protected belief. I mean, it's a fact, but we are allowed to say we believe it as fact as well.
Are we allowed to believe facts in 2024?
Right. And so who knows what the police will do? Arresting J.K. Rowling for misgendering this person that has been shown to be a protected belief will cause a firestorm. I would love to see them try. She also had said that. I mean, I don't want anything bad to happen to J.K. Rowling at all. But she has said, bring it on. Let's see what the court said. Now, in response to this, she misgendered this person. J.K. Rowling pointed out that this person has called other trans people men before because they're gatekeeping, right? Someone who said something that this person didn't like said, well, you're just a man anyway. She posted screenshots of this. And further, J.K. Rowling says this, surprisingly for such an eminent legal authority, he, meaning that person, appears to have forgotten about the Forstater ruling, saying that this is a protected belief. As I'm aware, it's an offense to lie to law enforcement. I'll simply have to explain that to the police. In my view, India is a classic example of the male narcissist who lives in a state of perpetual rage that he can't compel women to take him at his own valuation. Now, let's revisit those Twitter rules. Clearly, this is deliberate. Misgendering, right? And J.K. Rowling's getting away with it. So does that mean the rest of us can? Or are these certain rules for J.K. Rowling? I'm just putting that out there for your opinion. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you know. So if I have my problem, this is not a defense of Elon because I have my problems. Like he's banned Kit Clarenberg, who's one of the best journalists ever since he went to Auschwitz. He's been pretty harsh on pro-Palestine. But he did say that was only for Brazil. They had to put that in place because Brazil was demanding something. And when Tim Pool said he was going to pull all of his ad dollars, which was about a $200,000 ad spend, because they were bringing this policy back, Elon said, I'm looking into it. And he also told libs of TikTok it would not affect them. So,
okay. So we're seeing that this rule exists, but it is not being enforced for J.K. Rowling, and so perhaps for the rest of us.
Well, and also, okay, that's good. And then, Elon has said, right, he publicly said that he would handle this, he would handle and respect the laws of each country. And if something rises to the level of breaking the law, that's when X would take action on a particular post. So that's why I find this really bizarre that this is like some sort of a new policy for them because it's not breaking the law. And like now they're going to start gatekeeping and start stepping in the way that the old Twitter used to, downranking and shadow banning. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. But, a lot of things don't make sense when it comes to J.K. Rowling. For instance, the Wall Street Journal recently posted this article called, Can Warner Brothers Uncancel J.K. Rowling? And I found this to be a disingenuous piece. The gist of it was that Harry Potter products are still as hot as ever, and that she is still just as in charge of them as ever, despite her transphobia, which we've talked about many times. She's not transphobic. I think it's more honest to call it the unsuccessful attempts at canceling. She was never canceled. She's just almost too big. So does she have her own set of rules that can then pave the way for the rest of us to have free speech, is the question I'd like to point out there to you. Now, many are worried that the very act of calling someone by the biology that they are should be protected speech, and that, again, this may be a return to the days of yore if Twitter decides to enforce this globally. Now, this week we saw the publication of the WPATH files. We've talked about it a little, and we're going to talk about it a lot in the upcoming weeks because it's over 200 pages. I haven't read it all the way through yet. They were published by journalist Michael Schellenberger in a report called the WPATH files. Now, what it shows us is that doctors know that when they are prescribing testosterone to girls, it is associated with liver cancer. They are seeing it like, oh, I affirmed this person's gender identity. Oops, they have cancer because I put them on this drug for it. Prescribing estrogen to boys is associated with blood clots, heart attack, and stroke. So again, we're using this gender affirming someone's pronoun, affirming someone's ideology. And it's dangerous. What they're saying is that this is hidden from us, so the people who agree to go on these hormones can't have informed consent because they're not told the true story. The report says that because, again, these harms are suppressed, these patients just don't know. Here's Michael Schellenberger talking about it.
Last year, the mother of a transgender reality TV star, Jazz Jennings, triggered a controversy after she described waking Jazz up in the middle of the night to address medical complications from genital surgery.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will. But Jazz is bad, even when I'm home once a day. I will be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up. I will wring her neck.
I was shocked by the clip, but then didn't think much about it afterwards. In truth, I didn't want to think much about it afterwards. But then someone gave me the internal discussion files from an organization called WPATH, which is the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. We released those files, all 170 pages, yesterday. What they show is the widespread medical mistreatment of children, adolescents, and vulnerable adults. They show that WPATH members and gender medicine practitioners aren't getting informed consent from their patients. That appears to have been the case with Jazz Jennings, who was not old enough to understand the implications not only of becoming sterile, but also of never being able to have an orgasm. As such, trans isn't what many of us thought it was. It's not about liberating gay people, it's often about harming them, since a growing body of evidence shows that many, if not most, trans people would have simply grown up to be gay had they not engaged in what's called gender-affirming care. In that sense, it's actually a form of conversion therapy for gay kids. Now, we don't yet know the number of people who will come to regret their medicalization, but it could be in the tens of thousands. As such, gender medicine may turn out to be one of the worst medical mistreatment scandals in history.
Now, what they're talking about is Jazz Jennings had their penis removed and a neo-vagina put into place, and the human body sees that as a wound, so kept trying to close it as a closed wound. And the mom said, you have to go in there with lubrication and stretch out that vagina regularly or it will seal shut. Women don't have to do that. Real women don't. We don't have to.
That's
Thank God.
Yeah, we
if
don't.
I cut my finger and I was just like, I have to keep this cut. I'd have to cut it every day.
You'd have to keep making sure that it doesn't, right. And so the mom is saying,
it's got to be healthy.
my child doesn't want to do this. It's uncomfortable and annoying, and they are bad then. So if all this work that I put into getting your penis cut off and giving you this neo-vagina and you just let it close up again, and then you don't have a vagina like we all wanted you to, then I'm going to be so mad. So the mom is invested in the outcome of this. It's not like, when my daughter gets her ears pierced, I'm like, you let it close up, honey. Like, this is a much different thing, right? And so people were saying this was abusive. Go ahead.
So they're constructing a faux vagina, but how do they pee? Like if Jazz lets it close up, right? And like, I don't want to do this anymore. How does she pee? Is it,
This
She or
surgery
he?
continues to be revised. And so I'm not sure which version of it they had, but they do move the urethra. And so
'Cause I'm just wondering, is it like life threatening? If it closes, is it life threatening? Like, oh, now we got to like create a way for you to urinate.
I would
Like,
assume.
My
and
God, you gotta carry
then,
like a colostomy bag around with you.
It's barbaric.
What the hell?
And
This
then
is
I would
transhumanism.
also assume that it's really, well, actually, I don't have to assume. We know that it's very prone to infection because pee and poo has bacteria.
All right.
And so, don't say all right, like I shouldn't say that.
No, I just, yeah.
Well,
All
also I've heard hair can grow in there too. Like
Hair grows inside.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really hard on kids. It's really hard on
Yeah,
kids.
I mean, we're literally, this is demonic.
Joseph Mengele would be like, wow.
This is absolutely demonic. We're doing this to children and we're just allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and within minutes too, people can go in for like medication. There's a report out of Canada today, just going into one of these clinics, and within 5 minutes, they're receiving testosterone and they're receiving all sorts of information about surgeries that they can then take place and asking to have it on hidden camera. Like, do you want to have these surgeries? Within like 5 minutes of talking to them.
Yes. Yeah. And these doctors are reporting like, well, I put this person on testosterone 5 years ago. Now they have liver cancer, but we're still going to help them cut their boobs off, even though they've got cancerous tumors now. And I just wonder, anyone who they say is suicidal, which we know that's a loaded gun, this threat of suicide, but then you put them into a situation where they are highly predisposed now to cancer. Isn't that also people, who have terminal illnesses also are highly depressed and prone to suicide? So which problem are you solving and which problem are you creating? And they know it. That's the problem, is they know it and they hide it. So that's my homework over the weekend. I'm going to be reading the WPATH files. Read them with me if you want. We link to them in the newsletter on Monday. If you want to read and let me know on X which things you find more shocking that I might miss, let's do it. Let's do some homework together.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.